Hey everybody, this is Scoots. This is a new kind of experimental version of Sleep With Me we've never done before. So welcome. These are just bedtime stories from our podcast, Sleep With Me. And to make them feel fresh, these ones are from a couple years ago. So if you're a regular listener, you might get a refresh. And if you're new, these are just bedtime stories from a show called Sleep With Me. They're strange, they're meandering, they're a little bit different. And all this is made possible by listeners like you, regular listeners like you. And so I just want to let you know that's how we're able to put the show out. And so if you are a fan of Sleep With Me, you listen to it on a regular basis, please consider supporting the show. You get ad-free episodes, you get ad-free story-only episodes, tons of other cool stuff at Sleep With Me Plus. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. But if you're in a position and you have some money every month, or you say, hey, maybe I don't watch that streaming service, I'd rather give it to a podcast, think about your favorite podcast. It doesn't have to be Sleep With Me, and support that podcast. If it is Sleep With Me, I consider supporting the show would be great. But if it isn't, or there's a podcast you listen to way more, brings you a lot of value during the day, please support that podcast. Podcasting is going through a different time right now, and your favorite podcast, the one you get the most out of, could use your support the most. So consider supporting it however they request support. Just check it out, like listen to the show or check out their website, or consider supporting Sleep With Me. If Sleep With Me, you say, oh no, Sleep With Me is the one I listen to the most, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's talking in this voice so he could soothe you like a train. Once again, I'm in my train station voice because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. This is a quick message here. If you get a lot out of Sleep With Me, if you're a regular listener, you like these new things we're trying out, like the story-only version of the show. If you're new, don't worry about any of this. But if you're a regular listener of Sleep With Me, or you're a regular listener of any podcast, if you have a favorite podcast, and it's not Sleep With Me, that's totally cool. If you have podcasts you listen to way more, or you get way more value out of, I totally understand that. Consider supporting that podcast. Podcasting as an industry is kind of going through a weird phase right now. Direct support from listeners is going to be, it seems like it's going to be the future of most shows. And so consider supporting the podcast you really love. And you could do that. You could find out, you could listen to the show and see how they ask to be supported. Or reach out to them and say, hey, how can I support you? Or if you can't afford, a few dollars a month, you say, hey, how else can I support you? But if Sleep With Me is the one, Sleep With Me Plus is the best way to support Sleep With Me. Sign up for Sleep With Me Plus. Not only you get an unbelievably sweet, different ways to listen to the show, but it's a huge help for us to be able to do stuff like this. But yeah, think about what your favorite podcast is, and then go ahead and go to their website, or if you already know how they like to be supported, support that show. Thanks and good night. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here. This is something we've never done before. And I've kind of been procrastinating on it because I wanted to put too much work into it, and I did put a lot of work into it, but I also was like, okay, let's see, let's slow, you got to cool it down, Scoots, you got to slow it down, watch out, you got to do this in a sustainable way. And I'm pretty sure up until now, we've only done theme park content with Ray. I mean, or I guess fictional theme park content. And so I wanted to experiment with an attraction at Disney World that doesn't exist anymore. And I thought that might be fun to do, but so we'll see how this goes. First, we'll take you through an attraction that doesn't exist anymore. And at first I'll talk about why, and then I'll take you through the ride, and we'll just see how it goes. How does that sound to everybody? Really meandering and sleepy? And this may be something in the future I could work with. I'm going to have to reach out to somebody that has a Disney maybe a Disney podcast or Disney history podcast or something, but we'll see how it goes. So let's see. So the name of this attraction is called the World of Motion. I don't have any history about it, but there's a great Martin's vid. I don't know if anybody watches those, like ultimate tribute video that has a lot about the history of it. But this is like more about my personal history with it and then a journey into the ride. And it was a pavilion in Epcot's Future World. Currently, it's called Test Track. And this is an interesting place of discussion about theme park rides, particularly Walt Disney theme park rides, and change and nostalgia and budgets and all of that. Another podcast I should check out is Podcast A Ride do an episode about this. I didn't go all the way back into their archives to check. But so this ride, okay, so it's called World of Motion, and it was by GM, and as you can imagine, it was kind of a tribute to the automobile and driving on highways and stuff. Though inside the pavilion, we're just going to talk about the ride or the World of Motion. Wonder if it's World of Motion within the World of Motion. Because there was like an Omnimover ride called World of Motion, but then there's the Pavilion World of Motion, and that had like some alternative stuff that I would normally rush by in a hurry to try to go on the ride again. And it was a big building shaped like a wheel. It was not super impressive so the first time I went on it was the first time I went to Epcot Center, which I don't really remember. Like, I don't remember going on it this time. Maybe I kind of do with my teacher and two of my classmates from my high school. So that would have been when I was after my freshman year. And then later, my family, we would go. So this was let's see, I think it was February 1990 when my family went. And I'm not sure if it was this trip either. So I may be getting my facts mixed up. But I don't know when this ride closed either. But somewhere, could have been, Scoots, that was the ride. Like, that would be wild. They'd say the ride was closed in 1988 before you ever went to the theme park. And I'd say, holy moly, that's interesting. Okay, so talking about the building. So the building was shaped like a big wheel, and it was clad in stainless steel, and so you could see it from far away. Oh, but it wasn't as grand as it was easy. It was memorable, but like I remember from going there as a kid and coming from Syracuse, New York, just like the Imagination Pavilion and the Land Pavilion and the Spaceship Earth, like those buildings just being like, I've never seen architecture like that. And again, this is like, this is like how a lot of people's experience. I realize there's people with more knowledge and more exposed to more things, but I hadn't been exposed to this kind of stuff before. Like, you want to see a cool building with metal on it, go to the De Young Museum in San Francisco. Now, that's cool. But anyway, I'm not trying to criticize. Well, I guess I am, like, offering some criticism because it was just, now, the good thing was the Florida sun. I mean, I can remember looking at this building and seeing it and saying, okay, well, there it is. It's easy to see. And it was really big. Okay, so that's what I like. So that's the building. In the time frame, why are we talking about this? And the biggest reason we're talking about this is just one of those things that's really unrelated to the ride. It was just this one moment in time that to me felt like a combination of magical and sad, I guess, looking back on it. Mostly magical, but a little bit sad. So, okay, and then I'll also talk about how does this fit in the with theme parks and stuff like that. So the World of Motion was supposed to be this like promotion of GM promote like slightly educational about the history of wheeled transport or transport in general, the world of motion, and entertaining at the same time, right? Now, the pavilion had other things, and again, when I think about they had like 3 or 4 different things. Like they say, well, maybe these people that like talk about Disney a lot have a point of like, oh, this park is past its prime. Now, one thing I was struck by watching the tribute video was that how many people like had to have worked on this ride, and that priorities have changed with companies, like whether it's the company sponsoring the attraction or the company that runs the theme park saying, well, that's too much labor. Like I'm just trying to put myself, not empathetically, but like be like, oh, why have things changed? And they say, well, that's a lot of labor. And I don't think labor costs, I mean, without inflation were any different back then than they are now. Maybe they are, but just that companies' priorities and their shareholder needs and all that stuff has changed, I believe. I guess, and that's more of like an AS, I'm making a rear out of me. But so it was an attraction mostly made up of animatronics and set pieces. And so in the 1990s, or 89, when did I say? Oh, yeah, 1990 maybe, or 1991. 89, 90, 1991, February 1991. That's when I'm guessing this happened. So for someone from Syracuse in February 1991 to go on an Omnimover attraction, which is just one of the ones where you sit in a car and it's really just one big train of cars, and they move at a slow pace, and the cars turn towards the set pieces, and it's a lulling pace, just like this podcast. But to see animatronics is absolutely amazing. And I think that's one thing that drives some of this like displeasure, or resistance to change at Disney from fans. I'm not saying with Disney. Is like that first experience for those people of those generations of seeing that, it really was a pinnacle experience because of just like nostalgia and moment in time and being exposed to something new to see animatronics. And they say, and this is again just a made up, they say, but like they say, well, that's not a popular attraction anymore. Remember, people that ride it's down. We got to make something more exciting. And they did make something more exciting in Test Track, which is one of my favorite rides just for the outdoor portion where you go fast. It is like one of the best 10 seconds in all of the Disney parks. And the rest of the ride probably could use some use. And it already was refurbished in the last 5 or 6 years. So probably won't be again for a while. But the part of the ride that goes fast is cool. And then they have a kind of a similar ride set up at Cars Land in California. And I don't know if that's the same layout or anything. You always say, that's what I always can't understand. People say Indiana Jones and Dinosaur are the same track layout. I say, what? My brain can't process that. But at Cars Land, they're the same ride vehicles. So I don't understand, like, if there can be all these animatronic, I mean, Spaceship Earth still is animatronic heavy, and maybe the park can only handle one, because it used to have all animatronic rides on that side of the park. Like it had Spaceship Earth, Universe of Energy, which was some dinosaur animatronics, Horizons, which was animatronics, and World of Motion animatronics. So I don't know. And then again, like I say, it takes a lot of, the good thing was kept a lot of people working, and I'm presuming they were at least decently paid jobs because there have been craftspeople and artisanal, like artist jobs. But for a kid, whatever, I wasn't a kid. I guess I was a kid, but I wasn't a little kid. I was just like, holy cow. So that's one reason I have nostalgia for this ride. The second one was because it was an Omnimover. I think like something like 3,000 people an hour could ride this ride. And because it was an Omnimover, it just constantly, even if the line was long, which will be a main part of why I'm talking about this, the line was almost always moving unless the ride had to stop for a little while. it was always moving because people were always getting on and off because of the way the Omnimover attractions work. Like at the mansion of Happy Big Farm Friends is an Omnimover attraction. So yeah, like so when you're okay, so those are a couple pieces of information. Another thing is, and I don't know if this is our first or second trip to Disney World as a family, but it was a big deal. But like I was also a very independent person, and I had my brother and my sister that were 2 years younger than me. And I think on our first trip and maybe even our second trip, we also went with my cousins and my aunt and uncle. My cousin was the same age as me. And then I had a cousin slightly younger than me that was close to the same age as my sister. And we were old enough that we could go to a park as a family and then split up. Like I think my father would give us whatever, 10 or 20 bucks for the day. And he'd say, okay, you have to feed yourself with this money. Those of us that were in like middle school and high school, which I guess is a little bit different nowadays, parenting. But also, I guess, like when you have 6 kids, you probably don't want to be around all your kids because especially me, I was angsty. But so we would split up. And a lot of times I really loved, just like Ray talks about, suspending my disbelief, like seeing how much, like I remember waiting in the line by myself, like I like to walk around by myself. And I would like create these storylines in my head, or I would go with the ride's storyline. Like there was this one ride in Epcot that's gone now called Body Wars. And I don't even remember, the queue kind of helped you suspend your disbelief. And I would just try to fully do it. Like I would try to see how much I could convince myself that I was in some, you know what I mean? I mean, that's why I make a sleep podcast. So the benefits of this World of Motion attraction were, one, it had animatronics that were cool. It was air conditioned. There was long lines, but the lines were always moving. It had music, and like you constantly felt like if you were getting on a ride, you were winning. And at some point in these few family trips I made, I would also fall in love with the shows at Epcot, but I don't think I was there on this trip yet. Maybe I was. So those are some pieces of information. So at some point, I had already ridden this ride a few times, but I said, okay, I'm going to ride it again. And my family had gone to Epcot Center, and we had split up, and I was by myself. And so I got on this, so I walked towards this big shiny wheel. And what you would do is you would walk towards it, and there would be a cutout in the center of the wheel where the entrance was, and spiraling up the entrance was the Omnimover. It went in a spiral around a mirrored column outdoors and back into the building. It went from inside the building on the first floor and spiraled upwards into the second floor for the attraction. And the cars were blue, the building was red, and like the thing that went up was blue too. And usually the line would be outside. And you'd go in on the left side of the building to get in line for the ride. But usually the line was long enough that was going all the way outside. But like I said, it was always moving. So there's like a thing. You're like, oh, even if the line's long, you might as well get in it. And this was a different era when you just waited in line anyway. And you didn't even have a phone. I mean, like, that's why I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to suspend my disbelief here. So I waited in line. So you'd wait in line there. And what you would do is you'd go into the building, and there was a queue. There was a couple benches. It was pretty boring queue. I think there may have been some murals. That was another thing Epcot and Disney used to have going for them, was these like amazing murals. But they had like the song, I think, was playing over the loudspeakers, which is It's Fun to Be Free. And I'll try to link to some of this in the show notes. So you'd kind of, and it was like in a 70s, 80s type vibe of the music, kind of silly, a little bit above, a little bit different than the Disney anthems that are like, that Simpsons have made fun of. Like, we're going to feel, those kind of songs like Feels Good to Feel Good or whatever you want to, this was more campy in a good way. Versus trying to be like I don't know, like self-help a song or something that a lot of Disney stage shows have. So it was fun, I guess, because it was fun to be free. That was the song. And then you would get on the attraction, like you'd go up a little bit of a ramp as you were queuing, and then you get on the Omnimover, and then the Omnimover would go up, and we'll go through that part of the ride in a second here. But you would eventually start to cycle up, and you would go outside, and you'd be spinning around, and of course you'd be looking at, I would be looking outside, and this is the main reason why I wanted to talk about this is like, so I was in a car by myself, and I was looking outside, and then right in line by himself was my brother Carl, like outside, like just waiting in line. And to this day, I guess more so now that I'm adult, like it's not as exciting, but like at the moment I was like yelling. I couldn't believe that he was in line for a ride I was on for some reason, and that I just happened to see him. And like, I don't know. And this was no cell phones or nothing. So it was just like one of the coolest random moments. And the theme park is pretty big. So I guess like part of me is like, well, but then it's like, well, if you both started at point A, you may have ended up at point C together. And I'd say, okay, fair enough. I also remember eating by myself, probably before I went on this ride. There was a restaurant called the Electric Umbrella. And I got some sort of Burger King chicken, the old school Burger King chicken sandwich, like something like that there. And I really liked it. And plus, I kind of felt like, for me, again, coming from a big family in Syracuse, New York, and, my family, like, was pretty, like we didn't go out to eat a lot or anything. Eating at a fast food restaurant alone was like, had this illicit thrill. I think that was like part of the, like, just something about it. Like, it didn't feel adult or wrong, but it just felt like fun to be free, I guess, in a different sense. But so, I don't know, that's just one of my favorite memories of the park is of going to theme parks. It's just like looking out from that attraction and seeing my brother and just my mind being blown. And I guess like the sad part, you say, well, what's the sad part? I say, well, maybe that like I was so independent that we could have been sharing that moment together or something like, but that's like my internal critic saying that anyway. Or saying, well, I wonder if I may have waited for him after the attraction because I was so excited. I may not have because it would have been a while. But that would have been fun too, of like seeing if you wait for the person that you don't find them. But it was also like you're trying to go on as many, like those Horizons in World of Motion. Like if I was at Epcot Center on those first 2 trips I'd made, like I would have tried to ride those rides like as many times. Between those 3 rides, Spaceship Earth, Horizons, and World of Motion, like usually because they had such high capacity, even if the lines were long, you could keep riding them. And then you felt like, I don't know, you just felt a sense of accomplishment. And then there was like the sea cabs in, what was it ever called? Sea Base Elf. I can't, like the Living Seas was what it used to be called. But that one, I think you had to wait in line to get on the sea cabs. So that one was not as free flowing. And then Living with the Land, again, it was not as free flowing because that was a boat ride. And Imagination one, that was an Omnimover, but it seems like we went on it a bunch, but not as many times. So that side of the park was just good for trying to re-ride as much, just get your value. And you just see and notice more things. So, okay, so that's it. So yeah, we're approaching, let's close our eyes now. And you see this big circular steel pavilion in Future World. We've probably passed, there's a good set of restrooms on the way there. To your left, I don't know where, I guess to your left in the past would have been Universe of Energy and Horizons, but I can't really remember. And then to your right would have been Wonders of Life, maybe. Somewhere around there. But straight ahead is this big silver building. It has a sign out front that says World of Motion and a circular planter. And then there's the open part of the building where we see the ride circling up to the top. and the other signs that say GM's World of Motion. There's red walls and the blue track is circular. Another thing that would have been good is that the mirrors on the thing were good. I don't remember what this ride looked like at night. And then we see a line of people on the left getting ready to go on. But man, is it moving smooth. As we proceed up the ramp, we're hearing music playing. It's fun to be free, man. It's fun to be free and free as a bird, to go anywhere and do all that stuff, man. It's fun to be free. And we're going up there. And we got there's metal. There's a couple white plastic benches that look high quality. Some of the queue is a rope on poles, and then some of it is that metal queue. Every once in a while they say, please don't sit on the queue. And hopefully this isn't a ride where I cut the line. And then we see these plastic Omnimover cars, gray seats, blue cars, or light blue seats. We climb in. There's 2 rows to a car, but it's basically a train anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And we get in and they say, your vehicle's doors will close automatically. Please keep your hands and arms inside your vehicle and remain seated while traveling. Thank you. And we slowly circle up to the left. So a clockwise spiral up. We can see Spaceship Earth as we go. And then to the right, we see the Universe of Energy. Don't really know if Horizons is to the right too. I can't really remember. But that wedge-shaped, we see, Horizons and Wonders of Life is to our right as well. So you'd have thought there was something, or to our left. We start to go up into this red building. And there's doors a bit like the stage. It looks a lot like the stage entrance at the beginning of the Looney Tunes cartoon. That's another thing I always remember. Looney Tunes always had this thing that looked like a thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? Or maybe you don't, but you'll see. And then we hear, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the wonderful world of motion. General Motors now invites you to travel the open road and to discover that when it comes to transportation, it's fun to be free, which is probably playing in the background now. And we go around the ramp still, and then we enter through the corridor that looks like the Looney Tunes, but it's only a distraction for me. As we leave Spaceship Earth and the rest of Future World behind, we hear me say, throughout the ages, we've searched for the freedom to move from one place of the other to the other. In the beginning, of course, there was foot power, but with our first wandering steps, we quickly discovered the need to improve our basic transportation. And as we go into the building, we see, first thing we see, which was really cool, was like these stone walls. Like you say, oh boy, this is like where you'd find some cave paintings. And that's like you figure, wow, they made that, whatever they did, they made that archetypal. But then there's glow up footsteps, bare feet walking. That kind of goes with that, the narration that's going to come up. And we hear throughout the ages, we have searched for the freedom to move from one place to another. In the beginning, of course, there was foot power. But with our first wandering steps, we quickly discovered the need to improve our basic transportation. And we see a couple of people that look like they lived thousands of years ago, early humans. One of the humans is like he has hot feet from walking, so he's blowing on his feet to cool them down. Maybe they're, like I said, were you guys at a Disney water park or something? Because that's what happens to my feet, or like a pool or a hot beach. And the other early human is like waving his hand over his hot feet with a fan, maybe a leaf, trying to cool it down. And we also hear other things, sound effects. Also, you say, like, when you look at the one blowing his feet, you say, wow, he has a haircut a bit like mine, but he has, like, his eyes are open, his cheeks are actually puffing, and, like, even red from blowing. His feet are red, and he has, like, big, wide eyes, like you would do if you were blowing on your feet, which, again, it's, like, cartoonish, but I don't know. Again, you see, wow, they don't have it. I've never seen anything like this before where I come from. And then the narrator says, after years of stumbling around, we launch a new idea, our first safe highway, water. And then this was another way they really had success. And now it seems like theme parks will lean too heavily on it. Because it's not, it's like a projection, but it doesn't look like it's projected on a screen. It's like this, back then, like, dark rides were dark, like, meaning if in the ideal situation, they were so dark, you couldn't see between the scenes, like the transitions were darkness to light. And I'm sure that was to hide stuff they didn't want you to see. But then it was also, like in a way of like suspension of disbelief. It was cool because you were constantly being told where to look. You say, okay, don't look in the darkness. You're looking towards what we want you to look at in the light. And sometimes the car would turn that way or the track would. But it was also just weird because it wasn't like you pull up to a screen and you're supposed to watch it and you watch some action unfold and then you go to another screen. You were constantly in motion, so your view was changing. And so we see like what seems like a projection, but it's like, it looks like mobiles, actually. Maybe it wasn't projection because they're all moving. And there's like a canoe, a raft, a sailing boat, a couple other things. Let me see on the video here. A couple different types of boats. Then we see actually like we go into a set now. So we go from the projection to a set where someone's sleeping on a raft and they're about to get a surprise from a forest friend. We say, holy moly. And then we go to our next scene. On land, our animal friends give us new freedom and we test drive many new models. And so we see, so that scene was on our left. This is on our right. There's a toll booth there's a person riding like in a kind of a house on an elephant, and then someone actually like controlling the elephant. Like these are full-size animatronics. Then there's a person on a bull. And the bull seems displeasured with being, like, the bull's supposed to be pulling a sled. And I don't know if the bull was steaming. There's someone, like, totally chilling on a camel, like, kicked back because they're waiting. Someone on an ostrich. There's actually, like, someone with a magic globe on a flying carpet. There's someone trying to get a zebra to move. But the zebra's like, I'm not going anywhere. Please don't tell me. Then there's someone like on a mule or a burro or something, and they're all waiting in line to pay a toll for the toll bridge. And again, this is all full size. I don't know. It's so funny because it's like an ostrich, like in a thing. I don't know. So many little jokes hidden in there. And like so much like little motion, like of the animal's breathing or the zebra sticking its tongue out. And it's all underscored by the song Fun to Be Free. And then a revolutionary turn of events, the wheel. Now things really get rolling. It's fun to be free. And it goes from just the music to someone singing, "It's fun to be free." And then we see three inventors with spinning wheels, like one's like a triangle, one's like a hexagon, and one like might be a square. They're all spinning, but they're kind of they're saying, "This is not working, man. Like this is just not going to work." And they all have their heads kind of hung down, like their designs have been rejected. But then there's someone with a round wheel facing like a throne. And like there's like someone on the throne laughing hysterically while somebody else is here's the thing, like, so the wheel is actually, the inventor's actually barely rolling the wheel. And that's like the pièce de résistance, like that it's like the wheel is like sitting up and it's wooden. And the inventor's just barely rolling it. Like, see how this is going to work? Just a subtle motion. And then the king laughing hysterically is just funny because it's like kind of rando. And let's see. Then we go, like, there's all these, like, weird wheel effects, like as a transition, like projected wheels spinning around, like all sorts of spacey stuff here. And then with our newfound freedom, empires expand, cultures flourish, trade and commerce grow. You say, well, really, like only a colonist could have written that, but we do see a chariot being pulled by a horse with like someone on it, and they're ready for action. Then we see a man being pushed in a cart with another person pushing the cart, like holding it up and running along. Then we get to like what looks like a temple, and there's vases that have, like, so this is where it's like really cool. Like, so there's vases, like Greco-Roman style painted vases, but the vases have projections on them. Like one's a horse running, and then the other is one of those half, like a centaur, a half man, half horse, and on the vase. But then we see in person there's one, and like a woman is like she's like in charge of him, and she seems to be like, okay, like she's like kind of blushing. And I was like, how's subtext? Like, what is going on here? Then we see all these used chariots that are for sale. We're at like a used car lot, but it's a used chariot lot. And you can see there's prices that are discounted. And then we see all these people, like, it says on sale. And then we see like a salesperson making a deal, like a couple of people like getting sold chariots. And it's kind of comical, and they use Roman numerals. And then there's like this one really expensive chariot up top that seems to be for sale. Like I say, and they say, yes, so lend me your ears. This is a Colossus bargain, just like new. Beauteous Maximus, loaded with extras, power, reins, marble floorboards, 4 speeds, suitable for the throne of Venus. Fly on the wings of Mercury, all pass anything on the Appian Way. This Colosseum cruiser is fit for the gods, truly glorious. Caesar's wife had one. This one was driven by Caesar himself. And then we start to transition on the left to a new scene. With proud new ships, we sail forth in search of worlds, undaunted by age-old myths and silly superstitions. And we see like another cool, like a dark ride, like a map, a projection. And again, like what's projected on is also a part of the set. And it looks like scrolls. And so it's made to look like a map that's come to life. And it's like this old map where, the end of the world, like the wind would blow from a god and the god's blowing the ship off the edge of the earth. And then we see like a friend, a water friend, like you say, hey, I'm a water buddy. I'm like, but then it's on the map. Then you see it in person, and it's a bit like a puffed magic dragon, and it's looking, and it has its eye open, and then we see a sailor like looking through a looking glass, and it's looking right into the eye of the like, and the sailor's on a ship again, a set piece, and then like looking into the eye of our water buddy. And apparently this is Columbus, according to this. Then we go to the age of Renaissance, where great minds are turning from works of art to flights of fancy. And we're at Da Vinci's workshop, and they actually have this like Mona Lisa that I don't know if it's lit or projected, that like an actual animatronic like posing. And like waiting for like Da Vinci, there's like projected windows or scene painted perspective windows of like countryside, like, so just a level of detail. Again, you say, okay, wait a second, Little Scoots might have had a point here. Like there's, again, a good way, like there's too many things for your eye to take in. So it does become very... it gives you a sense of place. And I guess you can see when you're trying to just return value on stock, you might say, well, we don't need those windows. She's waiting. She looks cool. Just the way she's lit. She's lit to look like hyper real, like, and like Mona Lisa. But the thing is, it looks like Mona Lisa, but like in 3D. And we have her paint, then I have the painting of her, like to reinforce that that's not finished. And Da Vinci's working on like an Icarus rig. And like there's a man up there, like with his Icarus rig saying, and like, and I think there's even pigeons. Is that what this says? So I don't know, like just multiple, oh yeah, there's a couple pigeons. It is like, I can't tell again if the windows are projected or just like again, another set, but it's so well done. So they're trying to get Icarus off the ground and Da Vinci's making notes. Then we see a couple other like flying contraption mobiles, like balloons and type and stuff people are imagining, like that changes the scene. Then we see someone in kind of like one of those wigs that the upper class in London would wear, and they're in a balloon, but they're with their farm friends. So they're in a balloon with like a goat and a pig, and say interesting. And maybe even a chicken, so just comedic, I guess. But again, full size balloon, and everything had motion, so it just looked cool. And then we go from hot air to the power of steam. Now nothing stands in the way of progress on the open road. And we approach a steam-powered carriage. We see it on the right, like it looks like a horse-drawn carriage, but it's a steam-drawn one. And it's been bumped by a bull that's like saying, hey, like the bull says, this is my territory, buddy. And the bull has steam coming out its nose. And it's even lifting the carriage up. The wheels are moving. The people in the carriage are moving. There's like the carriage driver. There's the carriage, the carriage backup. So just like, you're like, holy moly, man. And they said the passengers just say, hark, what goes on? Why are we stopping? I should have ridden me horse. Be gone, bull. Move to yon posture. You are bull-headed beast, be gone. And then it goes, great boilers of steam change our sails to paddle wheels. And then we see like a paddle boat, and it has a couple dancing in the window with that, those dancing, spinning shadow effects, other shadow effects in the windows. It's night, so it looks really cool. And there's a man and a man trying to load the ship with a donkey who's not listening. So again, kind of showing, maybe it's like GM saying, see, trust a machine. Animals can't be trusted to work with you. I don't know if that was like a subtle message, but they're trying to roll. We see the paddle wheel and, yeah, he's saying, come on, man. Then we see a boy watching the ships go by, like, from a high thing, just chilling. Saying, hey, that's cool. And then maybe a couple, there's like a couple more, forest friends looking on, or maybe they're pulling another wagon. Oh yeah, there's a wagon with a band. So I guess they're playing backup music for the thing. And there's a dog. Beyond the Mississippi, passengers enjoy the scenic West with the freedom and adventure of the open road. Then another kind of horse arrives, a steam-powered iron horse, bringing fast, dependable, safe travel to a new frontier. And then we see comedic level here, like there's a steam train locomotive that's been stopped, and people are saying, hey, we're stopping the train for our donations. It looks like they caused like a rock that caused the train to slow down. They say, have you ever played that game Red Redeemer 2 on the Xbox or PlayStation? And there's other people and passengers and they're saying, hey, just make your donations. And they're all really well dressed, very, and there's even some Pirate of the Caribbean effects where they say, hey, I'm going to watch me spit on that sign. It'll be like a spittoon and it'll make a batoom sound. And so they're going around taking donations. They're saying, hey, come on, this is called pass in the hat. Drop it in the hat, mister. Come on. Hold her steady, Grandpa. Hold that box steady. So the narrator is kind of blissfully aware of all this. This says, the peaceful countryside. What more romantic way to enjoy it when that infallible combination of person and machine, the bicycle. And then it's like peaceful countryside, and we see a person riding a tricycle, but it went in the mud, and a dog's trying to say, hey, let me play with you, and he's trying to climb a tree. Oh, no, that was one person. He tried to climb a tree where a dog was trying to play. Then another one crashed his bike into a mud bog with two pigs. And another one, a woman's like laughing at him while he's there, like they were on a date or something. And she's like, you fell in the mud. Looks a little bit like Samuel M. Clemens, a person's dressed like that. And the pig kind of looks like the pigs are like kind of laughing or like almost like going to kiss him or something. And then we see other bikes rolling by, like again on a projection screen, just to give us another layer of emotion. And we see somebody riding like a big unicycle, tipping their hat. The call of the open road brings us a new wonder, a carriage without a horse. Yes, the horseless carriage. We thunder full speed into the 20th century. And we see the turn of the century, we see a garage where someone's working on an engine on a kind of old-fashioned car. And there's, again, motion in the engine. There's windows with lighting. I think the sun's setting. Then we see like a delivery vehicle, and we start to see this scene. We see somebody with a convertible. I don't remember that part. Going up and down, like a man and his horse are watching, and then we see a scene behind them. Oh yeah, he's cranking it, like some dude with a hat, a bright blue car. And he's demonstrating how a convertible works on a horseless carriage. So I didn't even know they had convertibles back then. And we see a busy street, like a projection. This one is a movie projection, though, like a black and white silent movie with trolleys and horse-drawn vehicles and motorized cars and streetcars and everything. And then we get to like this big traffic jam. This is like the big set piece of this ride. There's kids on bikes, and then there's cars, a big mess, like spilled stuff, a lady waving her umbrella with a big flowered hat. She's in a car with somebody and a dog. Seems like it's in London. There's like a double-decker bus. There's a horse that's misbehaving. That's what's causing the traffic jam, not the cars, just so you know. And there's somebody even it looks like there was like the horse caused like a dumping of fruits and vegetables and chickens. Almost all the chickens are moving, which is just impressive. There's somebody with looking out of the sewer with fruits and vegetables on their head. Looks like they just woke up or something. There's a horse pulling, like refusing to listen. There's people on the double-decker old-fashioned bus. There's an ice delivery truck. Let's see what else. We got people like somebody's writing a ticket. One of the boys is in a wagon. There's a red convertible. Oh, there's kids taking ice off of the back of the ice truck, which is cute. People are like looking off the bus. There's somebody ringing a bell. The driver of the ice truck is honking his horn. Everybody's kind of shaking their head. And then there's a carriage with a horse who's like, what do you want me to do? And they say stuff like, move that hay. We don't have time for horseplay. Do something with that relic. Come on, let's get going. And then we invent the Sunday drive. Now we can get away from it all to the beautiful, carefree countryside. And we see a couple having a picnic. And again, the songs are playing. This guy's playing a banjo, and we start to get some more projections of hills and bridges and plains. And then we see then there's like a family watching an air show, and there starts to be more and more signs. There's a billboard that says air show coming soon. Let's see, April 30th, County Fairground, 25 cents. And it's like one of those billboards where the cop hides behind it on a motorcycle, which is running. We hear that effect. Dashing heroes of the wild blue yonder. Now the sky's the limit. And we see more and more cars watching the air show. Some people have like binoculars. And we see the projections of planes doing stunts. Then there's even an actual plane on the ground. There's a boy playing along. And then we have a pilot and somebody else posing for a picture in front of a real biplane and somebody taking their picture. And then we go to mobility is the byword of modern transportation, a way to move from here to there and for every need and every care. And it really is fun to be free. And we pass like a couple generations of vehicles, like the 1930s, the 1940s, and the 1950s. They're kind of going alongside us with projections behind them to give them motion. There's also like these weird, the projections are on magazine covers. And one is College Humor, which I thought was funny. Because that's popular. But yeah, there's like dancing, seaplanes, bicycles in water, car ads, highways, rockets, man on the moon. One of the cars is like a just married, car. Another one is like college students. Then the last car is like a station wagon full of little leaguers with a pennant and stuff like that. Oh, no, and then there's one more car and a family headed out on vacation with all their luggage and their dog. And everybody looks happy. I don't know if they're going to or from Disney World or somewhere else. There's a very red chromey car. And that's where we see kind of the most fun to be free. Like people are surfing and we see most modern highways. Even though this car is probably like a 60s or a 70s car maybe. And then we go into these like trippy rooms. I don't know how else to call them. Like where there's projection effects that kind of give you motion, like you're kind of going in a bobsled. And they would kind of work. I remember really digging the bobsled one. There's also whitewater rafting. Like, so you're in these big domed rooms. I think you go to 3 of them. Then there's like, you feel like you're under the ocean. Bobsled, whitewater rafting, under the ocean. Running through the forest or maybe going on a forest side, and then like one from like a movie where it's like a vortex, space vortex or something. And that one starts to spin, which of course gives you that cool effect, like where you really do. Then there's like a star spinner, vortex. Then it gets even trippier, like lights passing you, like you're in, you're going at like light speed or something. You say, man, when's Pink Floyd come on, man? This is rad, man. Could do this all day long. Let the ride, and I think if the ride stopped moving, it might not be as cool because the motion adds to the effects. Then another star-type tunnel, and then again the vortex. So I guess like maybe there's 3 rooms with different loops. And let's see, after we exit that... what do I got here? Skiing, coral reef, swirling stuff, cyclone of clouds, outer space. And then we go into like this weird, another room. Oh, wait, there's like there's like a fractal room. That's what it's in now. Like something out of Tron and fractals. Yeah, wow, man. That's rad. Very fractal, like, I don't know, remember when fractals were a thing? And some helixes and some floating question mark. So some of the state-of-the-art computer images that now, I don't know what it'd be like to see them now, but they look pretty cool. Like, kind of like one of the scenes looks like like one of the movie theaters used up until a few years ago at the start of their movie. I don't know if it was Cinemark or I don't think it was AMC. Maybe, I don't know. But then you go out of that room, and I guess you go, again, because it's so dark and stuff, you go into you start to circle this like giant open space with a like kind of a neon or glow in the dark city. Yeah, that kind of looks like, it's called Center Core. Because it was in the center or the core of the building, but it's like, it's got lights that are moving, black light stuff. Oh, and then our narrator comes back. Yes, our world has indeed become a world of motion. We've engineered marvels that take us swiftly over land and sea, through the air and into space itself, and still bolder and better ideas are yet to come. Ideas that will fulfill our age-old dream to be free. Free in mind, free in spirit, free to follow the distant star to a brighter tomorrow. And then we pass out of the city, which looks cool, into a dark tunnel. And then we get to like effect from like the other ride, the big farm friends. But you go into a dark room, and then some lights start to move quickly. And then you see yourself, like your car change into like a modern looking car that you're in. And it's a really good effect, even on the video, but like remembering it. Because instead of like putting someone in your car, it like makes it look like you're inside of a car. It just was a really cool effect. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and friends beyond the binary, the General Motors now invites you to share the challenge of the future. We need, and I also have a GM car, the Volt, so I can say this kind of stuff. because I bought it. So 4 years ago, well, I leased it, and then I bought out my lease because I love the car so much. Though they stopped making it. But all of 2020, I think I only bought gas once because it's electric for 60 miles, and then it has a gas generator. We need you to help us shape tomorrow's mobility. Just ahead is General Motors' exciting Trans Center. Join us behind the scenes. We're working to ensure tomorrow's world will continue to be a world of motion. Your vehicle doors will slide open automatically. Please collect your belongings and step out to the right. The platform and your vehicle are traveling at the same speed. And then you step off the ride and you head out and you can explore the other stuff there. Or you can watch Martin's video. It has all that stuff and all the history. Or you could check out something else. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody who reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts recently. Meg MB says, occasional insomniac. Don't normally have trouble falling asleep, but when I do, I wake up in the middle of the night, stay awake for hours and hours. After I finally relent, not resent, and turn on Sleep With Me, I drift off. My biggest tip, don't think about it too much. Just close your eyes and listen. CPAP says, this is the best sleep podcast. Thanks for all the times you've rambled on and on with half nonsensical stories that lulled me into dreamland. I've been listening for the past year, never heard the end. If I'm not feeling up for the intro, I'll skip ahead. If I'm needing to fall asleep or feeling anxious, but I know it's far off, I'll listen to the intro and wind down. And I love that you use this space to plant seeds of inclusivity and compassion. For anyone that's not happy with that, maybe you need to listen some more and open your mind. Thank you. Jessica for America says, amazing. Slept for the first time in a long time without taking any pills. There's some ads at first, but I only remember a few things he said. Then I was off relief to sleep. Slytherin94 says it's 20 minutes of ads. Harry Styles Fan Club says, amazing. I don't know what you guys are on. His voice is so relaxing. Thank you for including important topics, making people feel welcomed. I can't even tell you how much I almost cried. Thank you for the small impact you're making. Keep up the good work. Abby S. From Canada says, pleasantly surprised. I have to admit I was hesitant to try this because I tried a lot of other sleep apps and found myself still awake after many episodes. First episode worked like magic and fell asleep within 30 minutes. Never happened before. Someone that has emojis that I can't really see, like a farmer ear and standing farmer ear. Scooter, I've been falling asleep since 2015. Love it. Right after that person's was worthless. Mike Jake did not like the podcast. Pete says, sleep guaranteed. Can't make it 5 minutes before I fall asleep. And DJ Perry says, triple question mark. No idea what the podcast is about because I fall asleep within 5 minutes. So thanks everybody for taking the time to review the podcast. I really do appreciate it. It's like, because it helps other people. I don't know, like, I know people read the reviews and then it helps them decide, or maybe it says, oh, okay, it does take a few tries. So I really appreciate it. Sleep With Me exists as a free podcast because people support the sponsors or support the show on Patreon or spread the word. That helps the show grow, helps new people discover the podcast. You could do it without even mentioning Sleep With Me. Believe it or not, eventually that'll help Sleep With Me just by introducing to someone to podcast apps, showing them your podcast app, then saying, hey, there's one on your phone. You could start with that one, or you could try to download this one. Here's some, well, let me help it. Like, walk them through the process. Any age, you find that whatever it is, like it was 3 out of 4 people don't listen to podcasts. I think maybe half those people would. They just need to be slowly soft sold on it, but shown how, not in a way of like, let me show you how to do it, but say, hey, I don't know if you knew this, like, just check this out. It's really easy. It's free. And for everything you're interested in, there's a really great, and some people say this like it's a bad thing, but for everything you're interested in, there's 40 podcasts and some of those are pretty good. So help them and show them, and then eventually that'll work its way to Sleep With Me. We do have a referral program for people that regularly refer listeners at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer that you could check out too. And that's it. I just got one more thing I want to tell you about. Good night. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots with like a tuck you in message here for our bedtime story podcast. We're trying out, and I kind of said this, free way to support Sleep With Me and bedtime stories from Sleep With Me is join our referral program, sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer, R-E-F-E-R. You get rewarded for introducing people to a free version of Sleep With Me, including access to Sleep With Me Plus. But most of all, just think about what your favorite podcast is or one of your favorite podcasts, and then support that podcast. It doesn't have to be Sleep With Me, but just to support your favorite podcast, because they could use your support right now. And if you decide, Sleep With Me is actually my favorite podcast, well, wow, blushing, seriously, even though it's imaginary here in this context, and support it at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, or listen to a show you love and see how they want to be supported. Thanks.